Are you tired of having your home currently listed on the market and having it sit there with no potential buyers and no offers anywhere in sight? Well, you are not alone. In this video, I'd like to talk about probably the top 5 reasons why your home isn't selling and what we can do to try and turn that around. From outdated decor to poor marketing to really not having a plan from the get-go, we're going to cover the key factors that could be holding back some potential buyers and those offers that we want to get. So don't worry, there is hope. So with some tips and advice to follow, we would like to teach you how to make your home more appealing and get it off the market in as little time as possible, because when you're selling a home, that is what everybody wants. So sit back, relax, and we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons why I think your home might not be selling. Okay, so reason number 1, not prepping ahead of time. Selling your home is a very big deal. It's a lot of work for the homeowner. It's a lot of work for the agent. So you really need to put your best foot forward and start prepping ahead of time. Weeks, if not sometimes months in advance of when you actually want your home listed for sale. You're going to need to start doing something that everybody hates, which is declutter. You need to get your poop in a group. You need to get rid of everything that's been sitting in your house that no longer serves you. I mean, that's going to make you feel better, but it's also going to get your home ready for sale. So honestly, the very first part is just prepping the home. Now, tip number 2 that kind of goes hand in hand with tip number 1 is ignoring major repairs, costly or not. So what will happen is you're going to get your home decluttered, you're going to get it ready for sale, and maybe in your head you're thinking, you know what, my roof is a bit old. You know what? This house really needs to be painted. Do you know what? There's lots of leaky taps. This toilet should be replaced, but whatever. Honestly, you need to bite the bullet and you need to get some of these repairs taken care of, if not all of them, if possible. A buyer's going to come in, and if they don't notice right away, they're going to notice the more time that they spend in the house. If they are spending roughly between 30 minutes, sometimes more if they love the house in that first showing, often they'll come back for a second longer showing. Now, maybe they miss a few things in their first showing. If they do come back for that second showing, they're going to start to do things like open cupboard doors, turn on taps, flush toilet. That's what my buyers do. And if there's things that look like they're in need of maintenance and repair, that is going to turn a buyer off. So tip number 2, please do not ignore major repairs and even minor repairs, because it is off-putting to buyers. So even though I'm putting this as tip number 3, this is kind of the most important one to me. I'm just kind of trying to do them in chronological order. So tip number 1 was prepping and decluttering. Tip number 2 was taking care of those annoying, potentially costly repairs, even minor repairs. Tip number 3 is really where I step in. Tip number 3 is pricing your home properly, having a realistic idea of what your home will sell for. This involves having your agent come in, having your agent sit down and talk to you about the market and what is happening today. Not what we wish was happening, not what might happen in the future, or even what's happened in the past. What is happening right now? Now, oftentimes, as we all know, everybody loves their house more than anybody else. It gives us the feels. We have all kinds of emotional attachments to our house, which often means that we are going to put a higher value on our house than potentially sometimes it's worth. So you need to be able to sit down with your agent, go through all of the market stats. I go back about 6 months. I try and pick as close as possible to your home in style and quality and size, neighborhood. And then we need to have a realistic discussion about what have things been selling for? What is your bottom line? What are you willing to let this house go for? And that's a really tough discussion to have, because every single seller I've ever worked with in the last 7 years always has a higher number than my number. And I have made concessions in the past, and I have priced properties where sellers want them. But then oftentimes what ends up happening, especially in our current market conditions where our market is shifting, it is getting slower, you chase the market down. So your first 30 days are really going to be the busiest time, the busiest, the most attention, when you should be really having the most eyes on your property. And if you are priced even just a small percentage too high, you lose a lot of those buyers. And what happens is your house ends up sitting, and then you end up not getting the offers, maybe not even getting the showings. And then you start to chase the market down, and that is horrible. Once you start doing price decrease after price decrease to try and garner more attention, which we should have been getting at the beginning, or to try and make yourself look more appealing, honestly, all that's doing is alerting people that you are ready to sell and motivated to sell. And then you start to attract people like the deal lookers or the bottom feeders that have noticed, hey, this guy's had 2 or 3 price reductions. I bet they're getting a little desperate to sell. We do not want people to think that we are desperate. We want people to think that we are prepared, that we are fair, and that we are realistic. We are looking to get fair market value. So I think that is the most important, even though it's tip number 3. Now, tip number 4, after your home is listed, you really need to make a solid effort to be available. So sometimes people want these last minute showings, and it is my job as your listing agent to manage the showing requests, manage the expectations of the buyer's agents. So often we'll have a discussion ahead of time about how much notice you need. Some people need 24 hours notice. Some people need to know in the morning if there's going to be an evening showing, if they're at work or they have pets. You need to be as flexible as possible. People realize you are living in your house. People know that your house might get a little messy at times. But what I tell a lot of people is to try and keep up on all that day-to-day sort of annoying maintenance that you might not do if you weren't selling your house. So every morning before you leave the house, just make the beds. Put all those dirty dishes in the dishwasher. Take that dirty laundry and tuck it in the washing machine, tuck it in a closet, just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And sometimes if you're home and you're living your life and someone calls for a last minute showing, have a big laundry basket available. Throw those kids' toys in there, throw that dirty laundry in there, clean off your counter, put it in the basket, throw the basket in the car, throw the kids in the car, and get out of there. So it's inconvenient, but selling your house is not really convenient. So you just need to be prepared to be available at a moment's notice. So you can try to accommodate as many buyers as possible, especially in this market where the buyers are a little bit more few and far between. So my tip number 5, if you do all these things properly and you are blessed to receive an offer from a buyer, my advice would be to not try and chase the highest offer or the highest price. A lot of people immediately look at price when they go to an offer, but there's so much more to consider. What is the down payment of the buyers? How much money are they putting down? What's their closing date? Are they looking for a fast possession? Are they looking for a possession that suits your wants and needs? What are their conditions? Do they have an appraisal condition, a finance condition, a home inspection condition? Do they have a home to sell? There's a lot of factors that go into making a really appealing offer. Of course, price is the first thing that we all naturally look at. I do it too. As soon as I get that offer, I open it up and I look right at price. But then we need to consider all the other factors because sometimes the highest price isn't always the best offer. So there's a lot of things to consider, and your agent will sit down with you and go over all of those things. Those are my top 5 reasons why your house may not be selling as quickly as you want. So just in summary, if your house is listed, it is on the market, and you're not getting the buyers, consider some of these reasons. Have you prepped ahead of time? Have you decluttered? Have you given your house that wow factor? Number 2, have you taken care of some small or potentially major repairs that might scare off buyers? Tip number 3, have you sat down with your realtor and had a realistic discussion with market information on value and price? You don't want to be the highest priced property in the neighborhood. You don't want to chase the market. You do not want to do that. Tip number 4, not being ready to show the house. Not being available and not being prepared to have the buyers come into your house when they want to come in can be detrimental. And tip number 5, not always chasing the highest priced offer, but working with a good solid offer that has other appealing factors to it that will meet your expectations and your own timelines. So those are my tips. If any of those resonate with you, please feel free to take them into consideration. If you are thinking about selling your home in the future and you wanted to have a more in-depth discussion about any of these things, please feel free to reach out. But these are my top 5 tips. There you go. Have a good day, guys.